Okay, so I think it's time to start. Welcome everybody to the 8th Horrible Film Festival. We are almost at the end. This is the 5th discussion which we are holding today. We have a wonderful panel today. We have two people in person here. Srini, do you want to join us here? And Kaushal, Monalisa, Abhinandan, Lucía, all are very welcome to discuss the films today. Before we go into the films, just a little bit technical, I would like to show the 4 trailers of the film to start with before we talk much, so just to refresh our memories. Then I will make like a 2-minute statement and then we go in an open discussion. Everybody can ask anybody any question, pretty much. Okay.
என்னப்பா பண்றீங்க? நிறுத்துங்கப்பா, நிறுத்துங்கப்பா.
அதுக்குள்ள போய் கண்ணை மூடிக்கின்னு அப்படியே உட்கார்ந்துருப்பாங்க.
அந்த தங்கப்பந்து கதையை சொல்ல போறேன்.
আশপাশের জেলা ছাড়াও কলকাতাতেও ঝড় বৃষ্টির পূর্বাভাস রয়েছে। আলিপুর আবহাওয়া দপ্তর জানিয়ে দিয়েছে যে বিকেলের দিকে ঝোড়ো হাওয়া বইতে পারে কলকাতা এবং আশপাশের এলাকাতে।
Cheers, Abu.
अच्छा सुनो 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 एकदम से सारी चाय गुटक मत जाना एक घूंट जरूर छोड़ देना
क्यों?
जो आखिरी घूंट छोड़ जाता है चाय की वो उसकी तलब में जूनागढ़ वापस जरूर आता है
किशोरी लाल जी, हम ग्रामोफोन छोड़कर जा रहे हैं।
तो ग्रामोफोन तो छोड़ के ही जाना पड़ेगा ना, और आपके अब्बू की सारी पेंटिंग भी।
है ना बिल्कुल जिंदा ये मौत का नजारा है कोई और मुसव्विर जो इससे बेहतर कर दिखाए रंग और रोशनी का फरेब
Se llama Sandra, en su nombre presentaron un habeas corpus para
Hoy
reclamar...
está en una cárcel.
El doctor Gil Domínguez es el abogado de Sandra. El doctor Conti representa la defensa del gobierno de la Ciudad de Buenos Aires.
Ella, como está ahora, es un pez fuera del agua. Cuando vos marchás al ritmo de los tiempos que te ponen otros. No como cuando quiero, no salgo al jardín cuando quiero.
La Cámara de Casación ha reconocido como sujeto de derechos y titular de derechos a alguien y no algo.
El concepto de persona es un concepto filosófico. Originariamente fue entendido como todo ente susceptible de adquirir derechos y contraer obligaciones.
100 años atrás, la mujer no votaba en ningún lugar del mundo y culturalmente se han ido avanzando hasta llegar a un punto en donde esto es una locura discutirlo. Pero hoy día el derecho no responde a lo que social y culturalmente se está empezando a plantear.
El derecho a no ser maltratado, torturado, privado de libertad, privado de condiciones mínimas de vida, pues entra dentro de la evolución moral que tiene cualquier sociedad.
No todas las personas tienen que ser necesariamente humanas.
Yes, come here. Okay, hello, welcome. Welcome everybody to the 5th discussion of the 8th Oroville Film Festival. Today we will be talking about the 4 films which we just saw the trailers of. They were shown yesterday, and I'm sure there are a lot of urging, burning questions about those films. I would like to start with a short statement before we go into the discussion. This festival is dedicated to human unity, and that concept spans a broad spectrum. In the past couple of days, we have been exploring the notion of the real. We saw beautiful encounters among filmmakers who live on different sides of a border. We were exploring deep connections of the subconscious and the interconnection of symbolic orders in surreal films and empowerment. And we discussed political resistance, empowerment, and what motivates us when we feel that our values are threatened. Where do we get the strength to nourish those values, and how do we transform them into actions? Today, however, I have the feeling that we are expanding human unity beyond all boundaries into a prehistory, beyond boundaries of living species, beyond memory, and into connectivity with nature on the most profound level. It seems impossible to bridge these films we discussed today, and yet this might teach us something about the power of film. It is a medium of imagination. That means creating images and sharing images of that which is not directly seen. Film brings in front of our eyes what is hidden in the everyday lives, and film is a material manifestation of thought and emotion. Each frame, each shot, each sequence is followed by the next and establishes a connection this way. A connection of images that contain an emotion, a memory, a vision. The sequences are materialized. They offer themselves to be experienced, analyzed, contextualized, and thus has the power to surprise us, to stimulate us and inspire, to disturb and challenge our perception of what we think is real. It makes us think. Film is thought. The films today exemplify this in an array of poetry. An artist that imagines his images and brings to life the images in the other, only to surrender the real image at the end as a sacrifice. Or the storytelling of the locals of the bioregion of Oroville who connect the future with the prehistory sunken into the ocean of history. We see a man falling in love with a cloud, emotional, spiritual, physical. And when the film and when the first raindrops fall yesterday after the screening of the film here in Oroville, a bit of magic was in the air. I woke up this morning after an unusual heavy rainy night, thinking about the power of a film festival. How far does human unity go? Does it include great apes and even trees? So with this, I would like to enter the general discussion and open the floor to any questions.
Thank you, Christoph. My first question is to Abhinandan Banerjee. Thank you for this film. I must say, it's absolutely magnificent. I loved every frame of this long film. But also, it is a bit sad because nobody makes films like this anymore. You know, it's like a film of a long lost era where you have very long shots that kind of almost make you feel uncomfortable, and it's almost like a homage to the work of Ray and Gatak and things like that. But from talking to people who had watched the film, I find that there are people who love it like me, and then there are people who don't love it as much, you know. And my question is, after all the effort and time and so on, what kind of responses did you get from other screenings? And if people don't like it as much, does it discourage you from wanting to make another film like this?
Thank you for the question. Thank you for watching the film. I don't think a film like Cloud and the Man eventually got made with the intention or expectation of being loved everywhere, because then we would have made a different kind of cinema altogether. This was our homage to the human nature relationship and the existential crisis that even more we are experiencing in today's age of over communication and the chaos around social media, internet, and whatever is happening. So I don't think we ever thought once before imagining this film to happen that we will expect everyone to love it. We just, in fact, once I'm done, I'll ask Monalisa to talk about it, because we were at Shanti Niketan, Tagore's Rabindranath Tagore's abode in Bengal, and me and her, we were having a conversation over one of Tagore's poem, and then that night I told her the story and how the journey began. She will tell you how we kind of conceived it and visualized it when we planned. In terms of response around the world when we traveled with the film, it was, in fact, we have received very personal and overwhelming responses. be it Tallinn, in different parts of the world, in fact. And people came, hugged, cried. There are festivals. That was a COVID time, so there are festivals. I went individually. There are festivals. Monalisa and Buddy Abhinandan Mukherji, my other producer, they went, and so we have individually received different kind of responses, but more of it are very personal and emotional, I'll say, because I remember the third show of Tallinn, Black Nights, where it was world premiered in 2021 November. A girl came who tried to kill herself previous to that year, and she was crying, and she was just saying that how claustrophobic she also feels in the urban life, and often she also wishes to go back to nature someday. I was asked questions like, is the cloud perspective of God in Hong Kong when we were showcasing? So spiritualism, nature, going back to, as I always believe that spiritualism is not a destination, it's like going back to home, where we started, where this universe started. So, and in terms of social concoction, we got away with the distractions of need and wants and wishes. But when the call comes of going home, we have to respond to that call. And yeah, to that, the call is got manifested in a form of a cloud for me. We imagined this film for 3 years before we started writing, because again, this was not made with the intention of making business. So business is a big part of filmmaking, yes, but this was not done like that. And fortunately, we are blessed enough that so far we are loved by different kinds of people around the world, and people resonated, and that's a positive thing for me and us, if you ask me, because I get scared. I am a person, if you have seen the film, then I always say this, the character was born out of me, because I kind of experienced, and I am a socially unfit person, and I relate to the character. He was born out of me, and I also long, and this film is long towards the wishful thinking of what if actually we could go and stay close to nature and beyond this survival game of society. But we only wish, and then next morning we go back to what we do. But yeah, this film was born out of that wish, that what if we can actually go back to where we started. Over to Monalisa. So I think she will be able to also add, because she has a different part of it when she will say. So yeah.
Thank you.
It's okay. I mean, if there's a question for me, I can answer. But it was primarily to you, Abhinandan. I think you answered it very well. So.
No, but you also traveled, and just you can add on, and in terms of when we envision the film, that's very important, because what he said very important, right? That these days nobody makes this film, and you decided to make this film. So I think you should say.
There are two things about picking up a film like this. So we are, me and my husband, Abhinandan Mukherji, who unfortunately could not be here today. We both run a production house in Bombay, and we primarily make advertising commercials. And this whole thing comes actually probably from there, because then you want to do what you want to do. And we always say to people, to filmmakers, that if you have a script which we resonate with and nobody is making it, then come to us, we'll make it. So that's one part of it, why we made the film. But the second part, when Abhinandan told me the story in Shantiniketan, you know what, I think that even a little bit of percentages, inside me is like Mani Babu. I think, or probably I can take the liberty to say that all of us have that Mani Babu within us. Some of us are not aware, some of us are aware, but we kind of put it in the back seat or something like that. I resonated with two things so much in the film that I had to make it. The moment Abhinandan told me the story, I called Buddy and I said that Abhinandan has a lovely story and we have to make this film. So this one part that a human who wanted to live life the way he wants to, but the society, the so-called sphere of the rules and regulations, it's a very regulated society which does not let him be. Like a misfit will never be able to survive in the space of the so-called regulated society, or we can say bullies or people who are dominating the game. So a human who wants to be different cannot survive. This part really fascinated me. Second part was the cloud falling in love with a man. So in Indian history, we've had this legendary poet back in the days called Kalidasa, who wrote something called Meghdut, and where the cloud becomes the messenger from one place to other. He travels and then takes the message to the beloved of the poet. And that's fascinating and it's celebrated in Indian literature. I thought what Abhinandan wrote was a brilliant piece of literature as well, where a piece of cloud falls in love with a man. I mean, though I'm the producer, I've seen the film so many times, but it just creates a stir in my heart every time I think about this idea itself. So yeah, I personally resonated with a lot of aspects in the film and I had to make this film.
Thank you for that answer, and congratulations and kudos for having made this film. I will be using it in my classes to show my students about what real cinema is all about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would like to maybe ask a question to Lucia, because the film about persona non-human really challenged me in many different ways, especially this sequence where I heard about humans talking with apes, but actually seeing them talking and laughing and giggling in a way, like interacting in a really beautiful way, challenged really the way I'm thinking about human unity. Like who should we include in that human unity? And I think in a way your film really addresses a core element of that question. So I was wondering if you want to speak to that a little bit.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for the selection of the festival. We are really sorry that the filmmakers couldn't make it because they were working today. So they are very grateful and very happy to be selected in this festival. And yeah, I mean, their interest in this topic was exactly that. Like, how can we decide that animals, especially great apes, that are very similar to humans in a way that they can develop, speak, they live in society, and how can humans decide that they don't have the right to have a decent life? And this is why the directors, that they are very involved in a NGO that it's in the film, Proyecto Gran Simio, and that's what they wanted to explore. This, if animals have the right to really just live, not being tortured, not being not been captured, not been, and that's why they wanted to explore this. Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to thank you for this movie about the AIDS. I've been so touched, so deeply touched. And my big discovery is that you can talk, you can communicate with the heart, with the spirit, with all the sentient beings. And it's so beautiful. Your documentary is like a quest, a personal quest, and it's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for watching it.
Now, my question is to Yatra or Srini. In the film Iniyan, there was this very powerful scene that the kids pass the hill and suddenly they see the Matu Mandir. And that's their introduction to that they live in, actually they grew up in a village, but that village is on the outskirts of a city that's devoted to human unity. So I wanted to ask, in your experience, in your interactions with the people in this area, how do they perceive Oroville and the background for its construction? Of course, we saw it being explained to them a little bit by Iniyan, but how is that usually communicated in the villages? So what is their level of awareness of Oroville? And also if you could share a little bit about how did this story come about? Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I thank Oroville Film Festival selecting this film and screening. Yes, most of the bioregion villages very proud that Oroville International Township for Human Unity, different countries, nationalities living together here. But at the same time, some of them from different villages, they haven't been to Matu Mandir, visited and had meditation. And recent years only, some village schools have the opportunity to come and visit. That is there. And I feel even this type of documentaries as a valuable documentation for the future generation to, the younger generation, the history of Oroville and Matu Mandir, what is about, and to transfer to the younger generations. So, Aurelio from Swaram, he approached me and he find this story, the pioneer Aurovillian Rud Loman. He was so interested, this person, in Tamil culture and Tamil bioregion villages in the early days of Oroville, and he was working in Matu Mandir. So that the short story was very beautiful. It's talking about the Tamil different cultures, rituals, the people, the caste systems, everything. So I also I'm so close to this Tamil culture and bioregion here. So I was so happy, to bring this film visualization. And so Matu Mandir, like many people, as in the film, the children were talking about is a golden ball, like that. So it's little imagination that most of the bioregion children and villages, they know the Matu Mandir is the center of our town in Oroville. But many don't have the opportunity to visit or to have meditation in this place. This main purpose to show the human unity, different countries, they stay here. The 124 nations soil is there in the amphitheater. What is the purpose of Auroville? Where it has been, when it was founded. So this type of things we discuss with the children when we show this movie in the schools. So when we screen in this biology schools, in government schools specifically, we got very good response. And they were telling my forefathers, my grandpa, and I worked in that foundation of Mahatma Mandir, and several stories they say about it, and it was so interesting. And specifically the environment, saving of nature, preserving the nature. So all these things is connected in this film. Even the daughter-in-law says, I'm married in this village, I've never been to Mahatma Mandir, could you take me? So before, like 40, 30, 35 years before, I was from this Kulapalam village. There was no boundaries. I used to just cycle with my friends. When there is rainy days in the foundation, there will be a red water. I mean, so I used to jump in and swim and just go training, and just now it's really protected and many formalities and certain things. And still, many people didn't have this meditation opportunity, but we'll create. It's a treasure, I feel it, for younger generation, and talking about Lemuria and connecting the Auroville as a bridge. Thank you.
I'd like to ask a question, if I may. So my question has to do with something like all of your films. My name is Krishna, by the way, and all of your films had this element of, dare I say, cross-cultural communication. You know, whether it was, and I'm really extending the kind of interpretation of cultural, I mean, to like between a cloud and a human being, between an animal and a human being, between you know, here in Srini's film, you have a very particular thing. Cross-cultural literally means people from different countries. In Kaushal's film, that element of cross-cultural really came through. And in all of your films, there's this thing of like what Abhinandan put so nicely, that element of that urge to survive beyond our common city values, or the life that we have in our daily kind of life routine. So I would just like to ask all of you, actually, what in the process of making this your films, what was the impact or what touched you about this whole thing of you know, communication between, I'm calling it different cultures, but each of your films extends that in different ways?
I can start if you want. Yeah. For us, the most, especially for me, I'm in the production company. I work in the production company, but for me, the most impacting, I don't know, the shocking thing, I think it's the word. The shocking thing is how this woman, I don't know if you remember, that we made the video call in the film with her, that she's an anthropologist that worked with a gorilla, teaching her to communicate, and the relationship they established. For me, that was amazing because they really became family. Like she was like her mother to the gorilla. And that's, for me, it was like, wow, wait. So we maybe are more similar than we think, and we have more similarities that we don't, even if the gorilla is an animal and we are humans. And yeah, for me, that was the most shocking thing, and it made me believe that what we were doing this film was very important for this reason, because the case of Sandra and Cecilia, then the fact that they got the persona non humana, the non-human person degree, is very important, and it's an unprecedented case that opens a window of possibilities for animal rights. So yeah, that's, for me, it's the most important thing of this cross-cultural, cross-language, cross everything. Yeah.
So I think for me, I'll say about it's very simple, and interestingly, since it's Orville, I have to put it like that. I love to put it like that because this is the place of Rishi Aurobindo, that we are Bengalis. We are so proud of him, and we grew up reading him, getting inspired by him. And let's talk about a little bit of the yogic science in the context of communication. So they say that if you learn to control and harness certain kind of breathing, after a while you start to hear and experience the communicative language of the animals. Beyond that, you start to hear the trees. And beyond that, which is the ultimate state, which is being called as samadhi, you are one with the universe. Now, we will have seen our film. It eventually ends on that note, being one with the universe in a way. So, The Cloud and the Man is actually a story of a certain union, again, homecoming, of a species which got lost in the communication of purposeful society, where every communication is being designed to fulfill certain need, very daily basis need, and this kind of relationship. But when it comes to nature, it's not so transactional. It's so neutral. There is no wrong or right to it. In fact, a couple of days back, I think I met Monalisa and we were having a discussion. And I went to Himachal this last December, and there's a fire in the mountains. And it was there for 2 days, and I was sitting there and I was looking at the mountain, I saw trees were burning, and I just went down and I had a word with the locals, and I was feeling so anxiously that these trees are on fire and this and that, and I was trying to meditate there, and I realized that that's what nature is. It doesn't have a whole.
The connection seems to be bad. We can't understand you. Just the last sentence was cutting off. I was just
problem of communication. Is it good enough?
Please continue. Please continue.
ভিডিওটা বন্ধ করে।
Yeah. So is it good now? I hope so.
Is it a little bit better
now? Can you hear me? So anyway, so the point is basically communication in silence is what was the thing for Cloud and the Man, and eventually it got a good match with the medium of cinema, where we
can you
wait. Switch off your video. Switch off your video. Now speak. Let's see.
Hi. Is it better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Connection wasn't. A communication problem over a question on communication.
Yeah, the worldly communication.
Yeah. So yeah, so am I audible now? Yeah. So basically, in gist is that's it. That the silence between nature and we Homo sapiens as species who are trying to make a point that we are the most superior species on planet Earth, would be with the ego of being human, unfortunately. But the silence between us and the nature, and the silence of cinema, power of silence in cinema, in terms of not silence, I'm saying lack of human nuances, human language nuances, that helped a lot to write the film, conceive the film, where when I was writing, I just took a journey with the character and how he relates with the nature. And I felt there is no need of dialogues because he doesn't talk to people or people don't talk to him. So yeah, it's not just being lonely on the face. It's being solely close to what nature is, where there is actually not that much of chaos. So yeah, that kind of communication, I'll say, kind of shaped what the Cloud and the Man is.
Okay, thank you.
Krishna, can you repeat the last part of your question?
Yeah, I just was commenting that all your films have this aspect of cross-cultural communication. And I was wondering, in the making of that film, when you actually enter into this like story which you've written, you've done, and you experience through your actors in your case, what was it that really touched you about that aspect of communication that
With the crew or in the film?
in the film?
In the film. I think we made this film in 2019. That was just before the elections, something like right now. And all of us for 5 years had seen the country change very much. And all of us, everyone in the crew and the actors, everyone, and I specifically, because the story that I adapted this from was not really political, it was more economic. But we really wanted to get out this message that the diversity that we have is something that we need to treasure, and cultures only advance when they intermingle and are enriched by contact with each other. Otherwise, it's just fossilized and they probably rot and die. So in fact, it was foremost in my mind to speak about how cultures, how Indian culture, especially, I mean, if there is such a thing as Indian culture, how the culture that we know has been nourished by cultures and customs from everywhere, and that they are different, but that is what makes them beautiful. Yeah.
Good that you touched, because my question is about you said this story was inspired by a story, and it was really very beautifully put. I would say it was like poetic and all of that. And what was the process? I was curious to know what was actually in the story, and what got made into film, and what was the process. And I know for sure these many details and subtle nuances that you bring in, yet impactful and powerful, may not have been in the story, or I'm very curious to read the story also. But what was the process of adapting the story into a movie?
Thank you. I think this is, for this film particularly, is a very interesting question. And I hope you go back and read the story because it's a wonderful story. And the humanity of both stories is the same. And I think it was the human aspect of Zweig's story and his works which sort of spoke to me. So it was like a voice speaking, and it was not so much about the details and how the adaptation is going to be, but just this gut-wrenching situation of this family where they're trying to tell the good lie, and then there's this greedy man who wants to take away these things, and he has to now decide whether he has to participate in this good lie or tell the truth, which is nobler in fact, but break this old man's heart. So the original story was set after World War One in Germany, when the inflation is on the rise, and it was purely an economic question. There's this greedy art collector, art auctioneer, art dealer, and he knows an art collector, and he knows that art collectors will be, because of inflation, will be selling their art pieces to sort of live. And therefore, he goes and visits this old man who is very passionate about his art collection and is blind, and wants to buy that collection. and offers a price. And this man doesn't want to sell it maybe, but wants to show it. And then the family tell him that there's no collection to speak of. And but the entire political context actually was the adaptation. The min to make it to make the main the old person and an artist was a choice of adaptation, and I think it was a culmination of a lot of things of what I was feeling for 5 years of also I had read this book. There's this very famous book by Orhan Pamuk called My Name is Red, and someday I just wanted to copy the film and copy the book and make a film. So here was my chance to actually have a miniaturist in a story. And I was just thinking what could really translate in the Indian context, and I thought of partition. But I think everything sort of just seemed to come together when I was writing. When I read the story, I did not immediately write it. And I said last night I'd read it in Pondicherry. But I had loved the story, but I had not written it. And I went back to Bombay. I was meeting a few film friends, and they asked me what you are doing, and I said I'm thinking of a story like this, but I'm not sure. It's not really working for me. And while I said it, they had goosebumps, and I had goosebumps. And then I let it just rest for a couple of days, or maybe the next day I went ahead and just wrote the whole story in one go, and all the elements just seemed to fall in place. I just wanted, for example, I wanted a seed where this, but not so much on the face, where there's this Hindu guy, and he is repulsed by the customs of the Muslims, and non-veg is something where you perhaps, if someone is a vegetarian, will identify that it can be quite repulsive to see raw meat. And I also wanted him to have a perspective. So then I brought in a cat. But since the cat was there and the milk dialogue was there, in the end, I realized if I have this, then he can just give the cat the milk, and it becomes a nice symbol of him accepting also, but within his own understanding of 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 the world that the miniaturist has left behind. So then it's just Gulzar says, "Likhna likhne se aata hai." When you write, you learn to write, or when you write, things get written. So it's like that. You put in something just to help you to tell a story. Like the cat was just there to convey this simple point, but it became the ending of the film, and it wasn't like as if I broke my head over it. I mean, most scripts are like that, but the best ones are when the story just seems to find you, and you just become a medium and you kind of put it down. And it happened with this film, with the story at least.
So Kaushal, I really like the improvisation of the character Kishori Lalji. And you have shown, like in half of the film, you film this bad guy, what is going to do next. And then the transformation, I'll not say transformation, but what we perceive good and bad in black and white, it's not like that. There is so many shades in each one of us. And when he feel the tension in daughter's face and the wife, and then he himself like save them, rescue them from that situation. Like it is going to reveal that there is no paintings, that side of him which is like hidden side. And because of that uh, polarization which happened during the partition time, and you said that now what is the situation we are facing. So you have very beautifully that handle that polarization, ki how still he has goodness in him, and that goodness has come out, and accepting the cat and feeding him with rather than non-veg with milk. That is also like how he has adopted the cat, but in his own way. So I really like that. And I I feel you have touched so many things in that film. Like, as you said, what was happening in last 5 years in our country, or we will say 10 years in our country, and you have uh, uh, put I'll say a small anecdote through that your entire film. The people, those are leaving house, they will come back if they will leave something behind, like the sip of tea. So all this. So your idea started with that you want to document it, the house of your grandparents and all, but to weave that in the film, and what Induja asked, that adaptation of that film. So like, I'm just wondering how all that is you could able to weave and put it, politics, polarization, and empathy, so many things in one 30 minutes is beautifully done.
Thank you so much. I think a lot of times, a lot of writers, good writers, what they write a lot of shit. We write a lot of shit, so we just don't show the shit. So I think also I made my last film before that. The film that I'd made before that was 2010. I had shot it 11. I had finished it, and in 2019 I wrote that. So for 8 years I was writing scripts. One was a nice one, but I didn't get the author's permission. But apart from that, there was also, you need to know when the material that you have or what you're writing is not dense enough, and let it go. So this story is the one that's out, but also there may be stories there must be things that I've written which were not good enough. So I think it's also about understanding where the elements are in place and what will work. But apart from that, it was really about writing, uh, about working also on every scene as a miniature. Uh, the first scene of the film had to be, for me, had to be like a miniature of the film. So therefore, you see that there is also, it's not just that there are no miniatures, it's also that you can see in the daughter's eyes when she says that, when the father says that, जो चाय की चुस्की छोड़ के जाता है वो जूनागढ़ जरूर आता है, and you can see in the daughter's eyes that this is not going to happen. I'm going to indulge you, but it's not going to happen. So the idea was also to use every element in the film and to use every scene to make it like a miniature, to make it like a haiku, to make very little things stand for the whole. So yeah, and perhaps also what worked was, it was a 16-page script, and I thought I was making a 15-page, 15-minute story. So I was also making sure that everything that I'm putting in there has layers of meaning. Not that every film needs to, but it just seemed like this story needed to have that kind of a telling. Just was the demand of the story, I feel. And as a writer, you just try and serve it and try and make your screenplay better and better with every rewrite. That's all.
I have I have a point to make to Mr. Srinivasan. Iniyan turns out to be a guide, a link. He harkens back to history before history, the symbols, the archetypes, the rituals. And then in the end, we see a sort of reifying of the cyclical nature of time and how it's connected to Auroville and how this submerged continent or country is a link back to sort of human unity in Auroville. And I don't think I'm making a question, but I'm wondering how faithful my reading is to what you were trying to accomplish.
Take a short answer because we're running out of
Yes, the author Rudd Lohmann, he has written very nicely about Lemuria. He studied Tamil, so the literature. So in Lemuria, we all believe that everyone lived together, like the idea of Auroville, how the human unity establishing here and like that. So somehow we connected that point in this film, and it was sung by Indian Ocean, that continent. So we want to connect this, like this is an ancient land, this is Auroville, where mother has chosen this area, red soil, and this hill station above the sea level. So she has chosen this particular area for the Auroville. So yeah, so we connected the graphics, the sun, the mathematics comes from the sea. Yeah, it's a bridge between the Lemuria and the new thing to emerge. Yeah.
I would like to react to what Kaushal says about this movie. For me, a movie is a story. You know, Mr. Hitchcock was saying a film is a movie, a film is a story plus a story and a story. It is true. But the way you show the story, for me, it's cinema. It is the most important things. And in your movie, you use, if I can compare with the music, you use it pianissimo. It's little music, it's some details, it's some punctuation. And also the light, and I would like to speak about the light. Your light is very low K, so it's very dark and it's very sensitive. So I would like to know if you have worked with normal light, in a variable light, if you work with strobe or anything, or how did you include the way of using the light in the story? And also my question for the others, director and the other documentarists, how can we, in a documentary, use the light and use something to put a point on the story, on the thing you show? I think in a feature is more easy because you are master of everything. In a documentary, you are in the streets, you are following people, you are following what's the event. So how can we technically go to the quality of a feature into a documentary? Thank you.
Before you, can I just a technical question? The room, it's 4:30 now. Is the room going to be used, or do we have a few extra minutes?
For the keynote cabaret,
So
it's supposed to start at 4:30.
yeah, because we need to leave the room. I don't want to. Maybe quick answer for somebody.
If you would like to go over by a few minutes, there's no problem.
Okay, so with me, it was not so much about the techniques of lighting and what light we are using, but it was about how I'm working with my cinematographer and if we are seeing the same image and if we are telling the same story. So the cinematographer also studied with me in film school. And in fact, the entire crew studied with me in film school. And we were all, when we made the film, we were all staying in my home, all of us. So it really helped the atmosphere in which I was making the film, because in my room, I remember waking up and tiptoeing over 20 bodies to get to my study table and write dialogues in the morning before everyone wakes up. So it was the process actually that created it. We looked specifically at a lot of paintings of Vermeer, but it's one thing to look at paintings, it's another to create it. And I think it's to my cinematographer's credit that he shot this entire film in 4 days under tremendous stress, because we are making a short film, we're low on resources, but also he had such a good sense of lighting and of cinema, and the years of training that we had at Film Institute, I think, came in handy. It's like, you know, you night practice, and then you are in a difficult situation, and then somehow you instinctively do the right thing. He did that. And I think just to also conclude, you compare it with music, and it's very true, because we listen to music while talking about it. That this is this is how I feel the soul of the film is, and I'm communicating it to you through music. And he has to interpret it in images. And then when finally the film was made, it was the other way around. The music director had to watch it, but had to, just like the images didn't show everything, like the frame didn't show everything. The story didn't tell everything at times. She also, with her music, had to be sure that she is not giving away everything at the same time, but building up to it. So if that makes sense as an answer. I can't speak of documentary filmmaking because I have never made any.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Anybody? Abhinandan, do you want to comment on that question?
Well, for us as a documentary, what we did is for the lighting and cinematography, the directors were sometimes also the cinematographers because we were traveling a lot to Brazil, Argentina, etc. So they were using the cameras, they were the ones filming the movie, but what they were looking for was for that thriller-esque look. So they had very clear that they wanted that tone for the movie, so they were just looking for that in a way with the way they were framing, the way they were following the light. That's the I think that's how they work. I'm not the right person to talk about this because I'm not the filmmaker or the cinematographer, but yeah, I think that's the thriller tone. That's what they were looking for, and they were focused on that.
Abhinandan or Monalisa, do you have something to answer about that?
I think there's a communication problem from my end. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Well, now we can't hear you. Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming today and joining this discussion today. I'm sure we will have many discussions outside afterwards here in Oroville. Thank you for joining us online, Lucía, Monalisa, Abhinandan, for your time and answering our questions. And I wish you all a wonderful weekend and a last exciting.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much, Oroville Film Festival. And the other films sounded so exciting. I would love to watch them, and I'll get in touch with the filmmakers, I guess, to if I could watch the films. Lucía, your film, the subject and what you were saying resonated so much with me. And
thank you. Yeah, write me if you want, and we can.
Sure,
okay.
And even Kaushal's
Okay.
film, I would love to watch.
Yeah. Same. I would like to see your film too.
Please go to our online platform where you can watch the films free, Entertainment Oxygen.
Okay.
We find the link on our website, filmfestival.oroville.org.
Okay, that's great.
Tomorrow is the last date.
Okay.
Okay, in that case, thank you anyway, and bye-bye.
Bye.